guys, welcome to episode 4 of All Hands. I missed you last week. Sorry, I was at Manifest in Vegas Vegas. So we're back this week with a new episode, and we'll definitely be checking in next week as well with some Manifest coverage and some big takeaways from there. But new to us in the new warehouse, you can now become a VIP listener of the podcast and of the new warehouse and get yourself a special shout out on the podcast itself. So go ahead and check that out. It's in the notes here. I'll drop it in the comments as well so you can look at that. But I will say that Manifest was fantastic. So special shout out to the organizers there. Especially Courtney, who was running the whole thing we had on All Hands episode 1. But today's episode, we are going to have a safety tip from Josh Butler of Compscience. And then we're going to have our main segment, which features Alex Tutt of Configura. And he's going to show us how the Configura product can really help you to visualize and understand what potential infrastructure changes to your warehouse or your facility can look like and how they can work. So really, really interesting stuff. Definitely excited to share that technology with you and be able to let you see it here on All Hands. So let's throw it over to Josh for the safety tip.
Hey, so I'm Josh Butler, founder and CEO of Compscience. My tip for warehouse safety for 2023 is expect more from your workers' comp carrier. There are workers' comp carriers out there that are investing in their customers, like us, but there are others that we work with as well that really go the extra mile to understand the nature of risk in your organization and help you engineer that risk out of it. In our case, we're actually able to provide discounts upfront at renewal to incentivize the adoption of safety technologies like ours.
All right, thank you to Josh for providing that safety tip for this week. Compscience, definitely really interesting tech that they're doing, and hopefully we can potentially show you how that works on the show as well in the future. So definitely stay tuned for that. And now we're going to get into our main segment of today, which is the demo of Configura, which you'll see is a really pretty cool platform to be able to visualize what potential changes can happen in your facility from an infrastructure standpoint. So you're able to add in racking, robotics, mezzanines, conveyor, all different kinds of things, and get an understanding of what that will really look like in not only a 2D like the typical paper kind of plans that we would see, but also in a 3D visualization and an actual simulation at the end as well. So we're going to check that out with Alex Tutt right now. So let's take a look. Alex, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I'm very well. How are you?
I'm well. Happy to have you here on one of the early first video shows that we're doing for the new warehouse, and happy that you're joining us all the way from Sweden, right?
That's correct. Normally I'm based in Berlin in Germany, but yeah, I'm right now at our headquarters in Sweden, and very happy to be able to use the big room today, which might be the time difference.
Oh yeah. The big room. I like it. Yeah, I like the background. They're very international, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about Configura, what it is you guys do, and how you kind of concentrate also in on the material handling industry.
Where do I start? If I start at the beginning, this might be a very long episode because Configura is around since 1990. So we are quite experienced in a couple of industries, as you have already insinuated. We started in the commercial interiors industry. So big names like Steelcase, Hayworth, Herman Miller, those are companies that we serve in that area. But we also serve the kitchen industry with Marble Doll and other big names in the kitchen industry, Nobia. And but of course, most applicable for this podcast is our material handling branch, which I'm also focusing on. So here we have large names like Dematic, we have Nederman, Troax, Delaval, Linde Material Handling, a couple of large manufacturers, of course. But we are also focusing on consulting and integrators. And for this, we are also starting a new essential line of our products, to which I will come later maybe. But this is a more generic approach to be able to do a generic layout of conveyors, racking, and other, let's say, equipment that you have in the material handling industry.
All right, great stuff. And definitely very interested in seeing this and how it works. I've had experience in the warehouse myself. I've been in charge of projects where we've had to bring in additional racking, figure out setups for manufacturing tables within a distribution space, and, figuring out how to put things where maybe originally they, shouldn't have been going, and just figure out the overall layout and what that's going to look like. And we've done that in some different systems in the past, but it's always been hard to get that full visualization. I felt to get the feel of like what the space is actually going to be like, and then translate that over to the people who are going to essentially sign the check or say like, okay, let's spend this money, right? So tell us a little bit about, before we dive into the demo here. I mean, how do you think your software and your platform differs from maybe some of the other softwares that are out there that people would utilize in designing warehouses and distribution spaces?
Yes, of course. I mean, one part that you already highlighted is, of course, the visualization part. I mean, we think in pictures. When I say elephant, you are not thinking of the word elephant. You are thinking of an elephant. So this is what very well translates into a sales and layouting process. So you want to see what you design, and you want to also know what's possible in a certain layout. And this is what Configura excels at, especially with our solution CET. Where do I start? It's not only the visualization that we excel at, it's also the performance. So if you have a very large layout, and this is also something that I will show today, then you can sub-segment that into up to 1,000 sections and work on different sections individually, and then collaborate, of course, with your colleagues. And it's a very, very great way to collaborate and streamline the entire process that you have normally. So, but maybe the largest or the biggest differentiation vis-a-vis other, let's say, market accessors in that sphere would be our parametric approach. So we have an approach that is called PGC, a parametric graphical configuration, which means that you're actually drawing with products that have all the product knowledge already inside of them. So you cannot make any mistakes. So you don't have to be an engineer in order to draw a conveyor line. Because if you stretch this conveyor line, then of course one part already knows what has to change if you change something at the other part. And that is something that saves time, not only at the drawing stage, but also afterwards when you circumvent a couple of errors that are most expensive the later you discover them. And this is something that we can thwart with our software.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing that you point out there, because I think, more and more, especially, smaller to medium-sized businesses are getting more focused on how do they optimize their operations and how do they improve their operations. And, they don't always necessarily have the resources to have an engineer on staff to be able to look at these things and, come up with these drawings and figure these things out. So having something like that you mentioned with the PGC approach is certainly something that can be valuable. And, you're not, if you're a smaller to medium-sized business, you're probably not changing your warehouse layout, every week or every month. It's probably maybe a yearly at most type of thing. So, investing in the software instead of investing in, an engineer for the long term when you're maybe not going to utilize them as much, certainly makes a lot more sense. So you mentioned in there, obviously the visualization is a huge thing. So we're on video here, right? So I think we want to, get some visualization of what does Configura actually look like, and how can we kind of put some layouts together, or look at something like that. So are you ready to get into the demo here?
I would love to. Yes, definitely. This is CET material handling. So Configura is the company, CET is the software. Also good to know, maybe CET stands for Configura Extension Technology. So you have
Okay.
to think of CET as the core software that is also maintained by us, which is great for manufacturers who only have to maintain their extension. So the E in CET is extension. You can see them here on the left-hand side. So these extensions are, well, you can say threefold. You have those
Okay.
generic extensions that are for everyone or for everyone in an industry. So if you want to draw walls, if you want to add different levels, if you want to, leverage certain CAD tools, or if you want to add some generic industrial equipment in here. So these are, extensions we give to everyone in an industry. But this is only a very, very small portion that I'm showing you right here, just to show you the concept. The second type of extension would be those of our utility partners. And a very important point is that CET is an open platform, so we can integrate with nearly anything. So anything being, of course, ERP systems, PLM, everything that you normally use when you create a warehouse or anything around it. But we can also interconnect with third parties like Twinmotion, for example. I don't know if you're familiar with them, Twinmotion.
I don't think so.
It's from Epic Games. It's the Unreal Engine. Maybe that rings a bell. So
Okay.
some of us were playing Unreal Tournament back then, and were astonished by
Yeah.
by those visuals. And now you can use this actually to create visuals using the Unreal Engine in
Oh,
your
wow.
drawing.
Okay.
I mean, I prepared a little video. I don't know if the frame rate will do any good, but just to show you maybe what this might look like. I hope the frame rate is okay. But you can see that you have a warehouse created. This warehouse is created with CET. And what
Oh,
you're
wow.
adding here is, extra visualization, moving people, animated objects, extra lights. You can create different kinds of scenarios in here that are in an office environment. You can see a forklift there driving through this pallet racking. So there's a lot you can do with that. And this is something that I did. And I'm not a software engineer. I'm not a system designer normally. I'm not even an engineer. But I could draw you an entire fulfillment center without making a mistake and giving you these, breathtaking visuals here. So this is just to show you what the end product might look like when you are presenting something to your client.
The visualization, I mean, just seeing that video, I mean, that's incredible. Like, you'd love to be able to, I mean, you feel like you can be in the space and really see what it's going to look like long term with whatever you're proposing or coming up with. But like you mentioned there, before we dive into like how this works, and that you put that together yourself, and you're not trained in engineering or anything like that. And I see there's certainly a lot of options on the screen here in the CET. But I'm curious, like, how long would someone have to train or go through some type of lessons, or just playing around with the system to kind of get to that level to be able to create something like you just showed us?
That is a very good question. I mean, one of the major benefits of CET is that, you save a lot of time with the training per se. So if you bring on new employees and they are not savvy with your products, then they do not have to be, because the software already brings them to a level of knowledge regarding the products, of course, that saves a lot of time in that area. When it comes to the usage of the software, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but of course, someone who is used to using CAD software or any type of software will of course be very, very fast with it, because it's very intuitive. You will see later how the visual part of it and the parametric graphical configuration part of it is what helps using the software. You don't have to be an expert in order to use the software. But if you're an expert, then you will very much appreciate the software, because all the tasks that you normally do in thousands of hours can be automated in a couple of minutes. So to answer your question, I took I was not savvy with CAD software before. And I took like a month, maybe a max, to be able to use all the functionality, at least on a basic level. And if you have a certain product line, then yeah, the products do the work for you. You will see later what that means. But
Yeah, that's pretty incredible, and I think that reduced training time is certainly a plus, and I think is certainly encouraging as well to probably some warehouse managers, operation managers out there that may, want to be able to just put something down that they're thinking about in their head without having to try and translate that to an engineer and go back and forth with a consultant maybe or something like that. So being able to get up to speed that quickly and be able to put something to paper and make it make sense, I think is a huge thing. That's definitely great. Yeah.
so what I would show you now is the drawing process. And the drawing process is as easy as it gets. So you have your product portfolio, as you, if you want, left here in your extension, but you can also enrich this tab here, which is your extension. You can enrich it with different efficiency tools, or with certain let's say different options to your products. The drawing process is very easy. So for example, if you go to this part of the drawing here and you just want to add another conveyor line, then you just click on the product that you want to enter. You click on it once. You don't have to keep your mouse button pressed. And then you see here, let's go maybe here so you can see it on both sides. There you go. So you can see how it appears both in the 2D and in the 3D view. So you can draw in both. You could also go ahead and only go 2D if you want to do that, or only 3D if you're in front of your client. So all of this is no problem whatsoever. I will stay in the split screen so you can see what's going on in both. But to go to the drawing process again, you click once with your left mouse button. You see how it appears in both. And now if you want to draw this conveyor line, you just keep your left mouse button clicked. And when you do that, you see how it's already adapting to some rules. You see the direction of the conveyor is already there. New beds are forming, and they are also changing if you go into a different length. And this is always the algorithm that calculates, okay, what's the best physical or functional way to cut it if you were to cut it at this point. And this is how you would do that. Now, if you let go of your left mouse button, then a new product of the same category will appear, and you can see how it's already communicating with the first one. So it knows that
it's with the dotted line, right?
Exactly. So it can snap. So if it snaps, then it works. And this is the first part where you omit an error. So if it doesn't snap, then it doesn't work. So you don't have to know that. And you can also use another product. If you would go for a roller conveyor here, and if that wouldn't snap here, then it wouldn't work. And this is how you can make sure to not make any mistakes. And this is not only true for these normal linear conveyors here. So of course you could go on and draw into this direction. You see the rules are maintained. It still knows the direction of it all. It would also snap to different layers. So if you go here, you can see how it snaps to this layer. So you can change the, let's say, sensitivity of this as well. And now if I want to draw something, for example, if I want to go with our essential palette tracking extension, maybe to give a quick rundown, this essential palette tracking is very good for consultants and everyone who uses palette tracking or other types of storage, because we are continuously adding to that product. But we are starting with essential palette racking. So what you can do
Okay.
here, you can choose from all kinds of different palette types. Let me just make those editable as well, which I do here. There we go. So you have all kinds of different palette types: North American GMA palettes, telecommunication to military palettes, everything that you can think of. Of course, you can also create custom size palettes, all EU palettes, Japanese, and of course special palettes like lettuce box or cartons. So everything that you would have in a kind of shelving. And once you have configured that, and you can configure it in any way, shape, or form, then you can go and make a pre-configuration of your racking. So here you can already see I can change the aisle width here. So if I want this to be 2 meters, I'm sorry about metrics, I'm European. But
No problem.
if you want to put this back to 3.5, then you can see how you always have a visual representation of what you are doing. And you can go change the palette type in here that you created. You can change the number of unit loads. You can change the number of levels, if there should be only 5 levels, if the load should be on the floor or not. So all of these things, from the frame up to the racking into the flue gap, all of this you can create here. You can add new configurations and load and save them and send them around. This is just one of the many things you can do with that. I will not even go into the bay and the frame editor. Just think that it's possible to change every single part of this.
Yes,
So
yeah.
now, if you have created your configuration, then you can start drawing this palette racking as well. And you would do that in the same way. You can see how you have your cursor, which becomes a drawing cursor right here. And now you can go on and you can see how this is already going red, because it sees, okay, there's a column. Oh, there's none. I will make it a bit
Oh,
more
okay.
pretty
So
going
if it's red,
here.
it basically is telling you there's
Exactly.
an issue. Okay.
Exactly. So you can see how you can draw this part. So if you now click again and you go into the other direction, then you draw the entire racking. Let's go a bit more out so you can see it better. And you see that it always has a clash detection here. And in the configuration box on the left, you can already see what shall I do when a collision takes place. So you can go down here and say, okay, I want to remove the loads. I want to adjust to the base, remove entire base,
Okay.
ignore it. But let's remove the loads so you can see what happens here. So if I click again, the configuration will be inserted. And you see, let me deselect this. And you see how all the loads are gone in the places where these columns are.
Oh, I see.
And the same you can do for conveyors as well. Not in this demo that I have here, but it is
Right.
being done for other clients of us.
Interesting. So basically, you can tell it like, okay, if we're gonna draw racking and there's something in the way, then like let's build it around that, or no, like let's avoid columns maybe, or something like that.
Exactly. You can actually tell it what, everything that's math can be
Right.
put into the rules here. But the exciting part is when you want to configure it afterwards. So right here you can see you have these yellow stretch nodes. So if you say, okay, I want this palette racking to be a bit more down, then you can just say, okay, let's put it down to this level. Or I want to stretch it a bit. And you can see how different load types are becoming visible. Okay, now I can have 3, now I can have 4. And all of this is being calculated in the background as well. So this is how you can draw something without making mistakes. Same goes for tunnels. If you want to add a tunnel here, then it would always take into account, let's make this let's say a 3-meter tunnel to the whole column. There you go. So you see here how you can create a tunnel like that. If you want to add different kind of accessories to this tunnel, to this racking, then they are just different products. So here, for example, if you want to add this protector, then you can say, okay, this should go here, this should go anywhere. It should be a multi-span that goes on both of them, and this is how you use them. and this is how they're
Wow.
also added automatically in real time. Actually, go crazy and add all kinds of products. You can connect it. You can actually leverage an entire ecosystem. So if you're an integrator who works with different manufacturers, then you can say, okay, I want to bring in the forklifts from Linde Material Handling. I want to bring in the conveyors from Dematic. Maybe add some guarding from Troax around the whole thing, and everything will be in the same bill of materials. You will have your own catalog data that gives you your prices, and do the whole thing in a heartbeat. And this is kind of 5% of what we can do.
So I really appreciate the demo today, Alex, and you coming on the show to show us this and share with the audience this great system as well. So if people are interested in learning more about Configura and the CET system for their operation and their business, how can they do that?
Well, they can reach out to us via configura.com. So there are a couple of contact forms that you can choose, both in the material handling industry, but also in the other industries as well. I especially recommend going to our website. Let's do that. Let's hope nothing else pops up. Going to our website and have a look at our new essential pallet racking extension, which is promoted right here.
Okay.
And here you can get a free trial as well. So if you click here on the
Oh,
free
wow.
trial,
Mm.
then you will see how you can have a form, and you can either talk to me, Alexander Tutt, or to my dear colleague Juan Sanchez, who is also based in the US. I'm based in Berlin, Germany normally, and Juan is based in Grand Rapids in Michigan.
We'll definitely post more information about Configura at thenewwarehouse.com. So,
Appreciate that.
Alex, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having us. Really appreciate it.